All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer covering the final chapters of Ariel M. Cisney. That's pronounced Air, E-E-L, Cisney, by the way. His absolutely incredible book, Majesty in Monotony. Monotony. I'm going to be your guide today, and I want you to think of me as your steady neural lighthouse. We're going to shine a beam right through the fog of everyday noise and guide you toward a truly cosmic perspective on your career, your education, and honestly, your very existence. Today, we are breaking down the Sovereign Trilogy. Collaborating, creating, and conquering ignorance. Let's set the stage for exactly how we fit into this massive 14 billion year timeline. Okay, let's dive into this. Right out of the gate, Ariel establishes a really profound philosophical baseline for our whole journey. Look, as a species, we wield immense scientific power. We're talking everything from splitting the atom to engineering the human genome. But science itself, it doesn't have a moral compass. It's just the raw truth of how the universe operates. So the awesome and frankly kind of terrifying responsibility to actually use that immense power for the survival and the flourishing of our species, that rests entirely in human hands. It is completely up to us. So that brings us to Act 1, the architecture of peace. That immense responsibility we just talked about, it brings us to the sheer physics of being human. To really understand our scale, just consider our origins for a second. For tens of thousands of years, early humans were limited to migrating out of Africa using literally nothing but their own 2 feet, which is a painfully slow crawl when you compare it to our modern global supply chain that can drop a package at your front door in 2 days, right? Now fast forward to our destiny, what the author calls U.S.EARTH. We aren't isolated tribes anymore. We have become a global superorganism. Think of humanity not as a bunch of separate random individuals, but as this massive citadel of living specks, trillions of cellular individuals collaborating for one singular purpose. We have to unite this superorganism to eventually colonize the stars before our sun dies. It's epic, scientific realism. But how do we actually build and sustain that destiny? Well, society relies on what the text calls sovereign architects. We're talking about the diplomats who are out there forging global treaties, the energy shepherds managing our massive transition across solar, nuclear, and hydrocarbons, and the bioengineers who are unraveling the very secrets of life. These vital careers are the literal architects of our climate and our future. Harnessing industrial energy and biology isn't just about, finding a job to pay the bills. It is absolutely essential to the survival of the human multitude. Moving right along, let's shift gears and get into Act 2, the black belt and the brushstroke. Mastering the physics of the outside world is one thing, but mastering ourselves, that is a whole different ballgame. Ariel actually spent over a decade as a Sungam Taekwondo instructor, and he frames martial arts as far, far more than just a sport. True martial arts is the honest expression of the self. It's this rigorous, intense discipline that forges mental stability, inner peace, and just profound self-growth. You start out as a blank white belt representing a sapling planted in the earth, and through sheer gritty perseverance, you color that belt with experience. It proves that personal discipline really is the foundation of all true artistry. Now, what's really interesting about this is how that exact discipline is how we need to approach all our modern anxieties about artificial intelligence. We have to draw a hard, clear line between the robotic employee and the human artist. We need to reframe AI strictly as a tool, a system to handle the monotonous runtime and scale up our information velocity. It is just here to crunch the data and do the heavy lifting. And by doing that, it frees up the human hydra to focus on instinctive nuance, real, raw emotion, and true creativity that a machine simply cannot replicate. And that brings us to a really passionate defense of human artistry. Whether it's inspiration you draw from family members who sketch and draw, or loved ones who dance, humans possess a deeply instinctual soul. I mean, think about it. We are basically just a clump of fat and salty water powered by quantum biochemical circuitry, yet we produce these breathtaking works of art. Machines can generate patterns all day long, sure, but they absolutely do not have the lived experience of feeling beaten down and tossed around by the universe. Only humans can give a genuine voice to that reality. Okay, let's move to Act 3 and see how this all builds, because this is where things really ignite, the caught-up mandate. So the crucial point here is that to survive, we are up against a massive number, 10,000. That represents the 10,000 years of human development that have preceded you. Every single one of us is born with absolute zero knowledge, none. For our global superorganism to survive, every single new individual has to be rapidly caught up on those 10,000 years of civilization, not to mention the 14 billion year history of the cosmos itself. Which naturally begs the question, why is education our prime directive? I really want to challenge you to rethink what learning actually means. True education is not about getting a fancy piece of paper to just hang up in an office somewhere. It is literally the #1 deterrent to crime,
to poverty, and honestly, to global collapse. Because when we fail to educate the individual cells of our superorganism, the entire structure falters.
The mandate here is just blindingly clear. We completely rely on the collective history of our ancestors to find our ultimate purpose. If you don't know what problems humanity has already solved, you're not going to have a clue which new problems actually require your unique intellect. You literally have to download the legacy of humanity into your brain so you can actively contribute to the next chapter.
And this brilliantly illustrates what the book calls a rehumanization protocol. Education is exactly how we dismantle fear and reject authority-based dogma. It shatters the mirror of war that tricks us into seeing other humans as enemies. When we elevate critical thinking, we actually start treating all individuals, regardless of where they come from, as potential ambassadors to knowledge. We start to recognize that every single person out there is a potential engineer, doctor, or artist that can contribute to the human endeavor.
All right, that brings us to our final section, Act 4, the Sovereign Close.
The very elements inside your body were forged in the collapsing cores of ancient stars. Think about that. You have traveled 14 billion years just to be sitting here today. Our species has learned to fight, to work, to play, and most importantly, to pass that knowledge on. You have a profound, undeniable duty to actively shape your own cosmic timeline. Stop being a passenger in someone else's narrative. It's time to step up and take the wheel. To conquer ignorance and truly master your own intellectual capital, I want to leave you with this stark, unforgettable framework directly from the text. Memorize it, apply it, and let it drive your cosmic perspective forward. The book is the source code. The tutoring is the training. AI is the runtime. The portfolio is the output. But ask yourself, if 10,000 years of human history have brought you to this exact specific moment, what exactly are you going to build tomorrow? Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.